What's going on, everyone? So we all want to see the Los Angeles Lakers pull off some type of trade, at least get a center, right? At least do a marginal trade for now, just to kind of like cool the pressure. Ideally a center. Maybe it's mid-December when you get a Valanciunas available. Ideally, you'd love to go get a Walker Kessler or something like that. However, it looks like, based on reports that have recently came out per The Athletic, that the Lakers are going to continue to remain patient, and it is much more likely that any type of potential deals are not going to take place till end of January and likely closer to the trade deadline, right? That teams, look, the door is closed, reports have came out, right? Teams are sticking to their guns so far. The new CBA has really limited the options that teams have for trades, not just the Lakers, but teams, period. Right? I mean, pretty much every GM in the league, or at least most of the GMs in the league, have all expressed just how hard things are now due to the new CBA. There have been reports that, like, look, guys are going to end up getting traded that teams were never going to trade, that teams were never interested in trading, anything like that. Like, you constantly keep hearing these, like, CBA has made things incredibly difficult. I mean, all the guys that are available via trade right now, all were available for trade last trade deadline. Literally. I mean, by the time the trade deadline comes, unless all these guys just magically end up getting traded, it will have been a year that all the same players are all still on the table. Like, that's crazy. Usually, like, unless it's like some, scrub, like, but no, there's some actual talent that has been available for trades, and they haven't been traded. Why? Because teams are very reluctant. Teams are kind of like, hey, do we really want to take on this guy that's making $30 million for the next 3 years, right? Like, where before it's like, hey, let's just go get him, right? We'll pay the luxury tax, pay whatever we got to do, make it happen, right? And then teams, depending on the apron, right? Like, for example, Lakers have been linked to Brook Lopez. How? Right? Like, the Milwaukee Bucks are a second apron team. They can't take back salaries. They can't aggregate players. They can't, they are incredibly restricted. They literally have to do a 1-for-1 swap, even salary, or you have to find a third team, which makes things, again, incredibly restrictive. It's not impossible, but it's a lot of work for a 36-year-old center who, yes, he's coming off of a really good game, but for the most part, this season has not looked the same. So, again, teams are wondering, okay, is that him just declining because 36? Or is that just Milwaukee's been a disaster? Or, what is it? Right? Like, there could be several reasons. Right? Is he just off to a slow start and he'll kind of pick it back up? Right? Like, patience is the answer right now. And I keep preaching patience. Yes, I know I talk about all the reports and all the little rumors and stuff that coming out because, again, it's conversation, right? It's fun, entertainment. We get to explore different things, have fun conversations. So it's about, at the end of the day, this is YouTube, right? Like, I have to make content. I have to, entertain and give people things to enjoy. And plus, of course, I enjoy talking about it as well, right? Like, it's fun. It's fun to explore. Like, what about this guy? What about that guy? But at the end of the day, I still want the Lakers to be patient, right? As much as I want to trade. Like, the fan in me wants a trade like a week ago, right? But when I remove my fandom, right, and I just think like, okay, what's best for Lakers? It's to be patient. Find the right deals. The Lakers are incredibly limited on what they have to trade, right? Their players aren't really performing well enough, right? Like, a guy like D'Lo, he's going to have a lot of value once you get closer to the trade deadline just because he's an expiring contract, and that's going to be gold for a lot of these teams, right? You're going to have teams that wanted to be good that aren't very good. You're going to have teams that that wanted to be good that aren't good, and then you're just going to have teams that are like, maybe we should kind of get off of this guy or that guy to kind of reset, clear some salary space for next season, right? Like, you're going to kind of get this mix up of various players and teams and stuff. So I do think that there will be more doors that open. But if you're the Lakers, right, like, you can't just give up both first to go get Walker Kessler. As much as I want Walker Kessler, we could have Walker Kessler right now. Jalen and Trevino, both first. Utah would do it. But is that enough to make us a champion? No. Right? Like, does it make us better? Absolutely. And Walker Kessler would be extra great because now you have your center for the next 10 years. But we're trying to win a championship. We're not just trying to get a future center. right? Like you worry about that at some point, right? Lakers also have a history of landing centers and free agency, right? Like you trust the Lakers brand to get things that you need to get. But a Walker Kessler, Cam Johnson, and like a Bruce Brown, or like a Zach LaVine, or like even like a Jeremy Grant and a Bruce Brown, right, with the Kessler, right? Like now you get 2-3 high-end guys. Now you start going, okay, like wait a minute, we might actually be a contending championship team here. Now we may be in a position to go win an NBA championship. And so you're hopeful that teams start dropping their price as it moves closer to trade deadline. Not training camp, trade deadline, right? Like, so the thing is that I do think some of these teams will. There's always going to be a team or two teams that are just stubborn, but there are enough options and enough teams that I do think at some point are going to go, okay, like let's start selling some stuff off. Like Brooklyn, for example. Right? Like, they're not going to win a championship this year. Right? Now, they're interested in, like, Jimmy Butler and Giannis. I don't think Giannis is going to ask out this season. I think in the offseason he might. I think in the offseason there's a real chance. Right? Like, but Jimmy Butler's a free agent. Do they want to pair Jimmy with Giannis? Okay, well, then they're definitely going to need to start selling off some guys, right? Luckily, Ben Simmons, all of a sudden, it's like, man, D'Lo's $18.5 million or $18.6 million. It's like, That actually makes some sense, right? We could clear another $18.5 million off the books, go trade in the offseason for Giannis, sign Jimmy Butler outright. Boom, we got our duo. Now let's just put the team around him, right? Like, so now if you're the Lakers, now you have an opportunity there. And that's just like an example. There's obviously more likely than not going to be several more. You have teams like Dallas, if they continue to be terrible. Do they risk Kyrie walking, right? Or do they go, hey, let's get off of some of these guys, right? Like, let's kind of retool, reset. Right? Hey, maybe we'll trade Daniel Gafford because we got Derek Lively, and maybe you can get a Gafford or something. Again, just names teams that are popping in my head that, are expecting to be good that maybe they won't be. Even Sacramento, right? Like some of these teams, you see some of these teams that are just haven't been that great. And if that continues, they're going to be like, hey, we really need to retool here a little bit. We really need to kind of change something here a little bit. Okay, well, we're incredibly limited on what we can change and what we can do. So, like maybe we could look at the Lakers stuff or a team like Portland, right? With like Jeremy Grant, right? Gabe Vincent has been atrocious. Literally, worst player in the league, right? But if you're a team, just using Portland as an example, there's other teams, right? Chicago, even, like with Zach LaVine. Like, would you take Gabe Vincent? Yeah. Like, okay, well, why would they want Gabe Vincent? Because would you rather pay 40 plus million, or in Portland's case, 35 plus million for the next 3 years? Or would you rather just take on Gabe Vincent, pay 11 million for 1 year, and then now he's off the books? Oh, same thing with Rui, right? We can take Rui, 17 million. I'd rather pay 17 million for 1 more year than pay 43, 45 million, right? Like, and then D'Lo's expiring. Right? So teams are going to be interested in some of the Lakers guys because they are approaching the end of their contract. They want to get off guys. I mean, look at the guys that are available. Right? Again, there's some quality guys, but most guys, like, they all have injury issues. Most of them have bad contracts, right? Or most of them are just, the run-of-the-mill role guys, right? Like the guys that like could make a difference for the Lakers, they're on bad teams that are on bad contracts because they're not, like, again, Jeremy Grant. I'd love to have Jeremy Grant. He's on a bad contract, and he's on a bad basketball team. Zach LaVine. I love Zach LaVine. I think he's the highest ceiling raiser, but his contract isn't the greatest, right? He has injury concerns. Jeremy Grant has injury concerns. Cam Johnson has injury concerns. Bruce Brown is still injured, right? Like, you go down the list and you look at these teams and you look at these players, they all have issues, right? Like, there's not that, like, oh man, this guy is, we can get this guy for 2 seconds and he's a 45% three-point shooter and a all-defensive player. Like, it just doesn't exist as much as we want that, right? Like, so patience is the name of the game. Because eventually, some of these teams are going to drop their price because they're going to have to. Or they're going to have to keep these guys. And they're going to have to ride it out. Or they're going to end up losing guys, right? Because, this guy's expiring or this guy's expiring. And we just lost him when we could have gotten something, right? I'd rather get 2 seconds than just lose a guy for nothing, right? Like, these are things that teams, as you get closer to the trade deadline, are going to have to start considering, are going to have to start putting, into place. And I do think that you're going to start seeing a lot of options and just teams going like, all right, like, I think you'll hear the kind of trade conversations really start to ramp up. I think you're going to start to see things really start to take off here a little bit. Obviously, look, the Lakers want to win. We have needs. Yes, you could probably, again, you go get Jeremy Grant right now for 2 firsts, but is he worth it? And is that enough to make us if right now, all we needed was Jeremy Grant, right? If it was like, man, if we got Jeremy Grant right now, best team in the NBA, or at least top 3 to 5, go get Jeremy Grant. But we're not. You need Jeremy Grant and. If you can get Jeremy Grant and, then great. Well, you need more than 1 first. And I mean, even Portland insiders are like, Portland is being ridiculous. Just give him to the Lakers. The fact that the Lakers even want to take on his contract, you should be packing his bags for him and sending him out and giving the Lakers a handshake, right? Because again, he has injury history. He has, he's overpaid. He's a great player. He's a guy that we really need. I would love to have him. If we can get him for the right price, get him, just because we don't have much room for error here. But until that price is right, you have to remain patient. You have to stay in the flow of things. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, yes, Lakers got to stay patient, got to stick to the plan, got to stick to the script? Look, obviously, again, it sucks to hear reports that, it's probably not going to happen until January or February, right? But I'd rather that, I still think a Valanciunas trade, right? If all the other centers are kind of and Walker Kessler, if Utah doesn't really seem to be willing to lower their price, I think the Lakers would just go get a Valanciunas. Also, if you're the Lakers, you kind of have Valanciunas as your leverage point, right? Once he actually becomes available and via trade, you can be like, hey, we'll give you a first for Kessler, or you can keep Kessler and we'll just go give up 3 seconds to go get Valanciunas, right? Something like that. So anyway, again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I would love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.